My name is Wynn, a Detroit native, currently residing in Los Angeles, California. 36 years old and a survivor of cancer, not once but 2 times. I'm choosing to tell my story because I want to be transparent. Going through my battle and being diagnosed with cancer, I realized that I lacked, role models and individuals who went through the fight against cancer, and I didn't have anybody to look up to or talk to get advice. Not to be selfish, but I just wish I would have had a story or something to reflect on to be able to help me with the battle that I was about to embark on. I was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2019 at the age of 33. It was a long journey to get a definitive answer on my diagnosis. I started to notice a small lump on my chest that started to develop. It got to the size of a softball where you could see it protrude through my shirt. I kind of ignored it naturally. I think a lot of individuals that come from where I come from, we kind of avoid it and ignore, these kind of signs instead of looking into them. And I would mention it to friends in conversation, but none of them were able to give me expert advice. I was fortunate enough to have insurance, but I just didn't know where to go. I kind of was just too scared to just walk into an emergency room or a main hospital. I found out who my provider was for my insurance to be able to go to just urgent care. But that started a process that was just downhill because they constantly referred me out to providers that weren't targeting the symptoms that I was telling them was wrong with me. And I was fortunate enough to get a referral to another provider. He was able to find a mass that was 3 times bigger behind my chest wall that had nothing to do with the tumor. So he then referred me out to get a biopsy done on the mass. They couldn't give me a definitive answer again. Eventually, I had to get a thoracoscopy video guided biopsy. Supposed to be an outpatient 2-day procedure, and I ended up in the hospital 7 days. But my mom was there, I had my best friend and some other friends come visit, and it was on the 7th day while I was still in the hospital wondering when I was gonna get out, was when the doctor walked in, and it was like a movie where he just looked me in my eye and told me, "I'm sorry to tell you, but you have cancer." I just wanted to be discharged and just leave the hospital without any knowledge of what could possibly happen to me. They informed me that I would be starting some chemotherapy. I think it was 4 different infusions every other week. I would be there for about 3 or 4 hours. I wasn't excited to start the chemotherapy journey, but that was the best advice that I was receiving from everyone, so I thought that might be the best option for me treatment-wise. Throughout that time, I developed a GI issue where I would go maybe 7 to 8 days, no food, no water, and constantly throwing up or regurgitating every 20 minutes relentlessly. It maybe happened about 3 or 4 times throughout my chemotherapy treatments. They got delayed due to the sickness, but I would take a week off and get right back to it. Maybe a month after finishing my treatment with chemotherapy, we started radiation for 16 straight days. I just wish I would have known a whole lot more, the pros and the cons, but at that time I was just trying to get the cancer out of my body with the best treatment plans that I thought possible. I was up for a PET scan, and when the results came back, they said I was in remission and cancer free. But maybe a month later, due to how late that PET scan was, I was already up for my next one. It was like my world ended in that moment, worse than the first time, because I felt like everything everybody was recommending let me down. And receiving it the second time was hard. But looking at my oncologist and having to receive that news over video, when I answered, she was already crying. And that's when she informed me I was stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. It hit me hard because I had to take that news in by myself and, trying to get the strength to be able to tell the rest of the world again. The treatment plan was to do a very aggressive form of chemotherapy. This time, I unfortunately lost my hair almost immediately. Immediately started losing weight. The GI issues were continuing. Found out I was allergic to a specific chemotherapy that sent my entire body into just chills and stuck. A nurse came in, checked on me, and I couldn't respond to her, and she was just looking at me, and stat, whatever it is, hit the button on the wall, and I had a team of 11 people around me. Next thing I remember, I was getting out the hospital, I don't know how many days after. Walking out of that hospital, I was just clueless, you know, as to what was really next. I was fortunate enough to get a call from a major hospital in California to get me in a position to be able to receive a stem cell transplant. At that time, I'm very weak. Not a lot of people around to help me go through it. I'm just ready to do whatever's supposed to cure me. But it was during this time where I started to realize that maybe chemotherapy wasn't working for me. So the stem cell transplant was the next best option for me. I went in for 3 weeks, but at the conclusion of the stem cell transplant, they sent me home. And I was supposed to do 30 days quarantine by myself. My mom flew in to help take care of me. She was there about a week, and I sent her home just because things weren't going good. I went 22 days, no food, no water, no bowel movements, no sleep, regurgitating absolutely nothing but bile and blood. So about the first weekend, I just told my mom to go. I cried on her lap one day. I just walked out. Man, it's like flashbacks. I swear it's like PTSD. I'm still trying to find a way to give myself some grace. And at that point, I didn't believe I'd make it. So I just went out, spent some time with my mom. She didn't really know what was going on. But I just wanted to let her know, even if it was the last time I was gonna see her, that everything was gonna be all right. But it was a complete lie. You know, I ain't believe it one bit. It was in that moment where I made it up in my mind that I was going to start a different preparation for this journey. I was always dependent on just what society or what the healthcare system was presenting to me and saying was the best, and I realized it wasn't. So I just took it upon myself to reflect. I did a ton of self-reflecting. As much as I could stand and look in the mirror at myself, to realize what was dying and to be able to see beyond that at what was being born. I was able to look past me being 170, bald-headed, literally lost everything, on an eviction in the bed that I was healing in. It was then when I realized truly, when God showed me how strong and resilient I could be, that despite my physical and the things that I was losing from sight to taste to smell to even my appetite, that if I did the proper preparation and believed in Him, that He would heal me, and He's merciful and forgiving. And I also did a lot of addressing of my mental health, and I needed to invest in my overall well-being at that time. I'm now making sure I focus and get the proper treatment, and I didn't let cancer define me. I didn't let it beat me. And I'm just here to spread my word, my testimony, and let you know that the journey is much bigger than the diagnosis.